Coming to you live from deep within a Borky radioactive wasteland. We are the survivors of the alt-right Bork-apocalypse. The few, the brave, the bitchy, once more wading into battle against the lobster zombie hordes with Stop Blaming Feminism, Play with the Dog Instead. Rantzerker number 197. I don't know, can you guys hear him bark?
Yeah, we can hear him.
I just heard the last one.
Yeah, just the last one.
Just very quietly.
So in lieu of Jojo Cam, we have Scipio Cam. Scipio's a little feistier, though.
We don't have Kevin Cam because she would probably knock over the cam.
Yeah.
And then she'd get into trouble.
But hopefully
while my attention is averted, she will sneak into the kitchen and eat food off the counter.
Up, turn, sit, look.
See,
good job.
Okay, why do you have the good dog?
Oh, I spent a lot of time teaching him stuff. Every day.
I spend a lot of time teaching mine stuff. All she learns is how to thwart me. Right? it's like, you're not allowed in the kitchen. So now she knows that if my back is turned for 10 seconds, right, she can get in there, and she'll go in there quietly. No toenails clacking or nothing, right? And then I come into the living room after making the bed, and she's not there, and I'm like, oh, she's in the kitchen.
Yeah,
and then she's like, what? I wasn't doing nothing. Well, she's licking her chops.
Look. Yeah, well, I mean, this one had to be trained, otherwise he'd be a menace. More of a menace. Okay, so let's get into it before we get too sidetracked with the doggos. Unfortunately, I do have to babysit him because Jonathan is fixing some stuff up at the Badger Cave on the other side of that door. So, let us just, you know what, Brian, let's just get started.
You want to do any things? Like fundraising?
Oh, right. I guess you're right. We should do some things.
Probably,
I'm just
I think
a little
that's
bit
why we're here.
ever so slightly distracted by this dog. Okay, so if you would like to support the show, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/support. We almost finished our monthly fundraiser. It's only got about $505 left. So thank you to everybody who put in something early. It might also be because we didn't do the mid-month fundraiser, so everything that would go to that went to this. And I will, if we do make our amount, I might put a bit more on so we can maybe provide some end-of-year bonuses to help people out, mainly Brian. So if you would like to help us, sorry, my concentration is being broken by this very demanding animal. Anyway, if you'd like to help us, please go to feedthebadger.com/support. Every bit helps. And if you want to send us a message, if you want me to give him a command, you can request that at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right, let's get started. Let's get to that first.
Okay, the command is shut your whore mouth.
You want me to say shut your whore mouth?
Yes.
Well,
what were you going to say, Brian?
Well, you
were usually the voice of reason, so up. Okay. I will instruct my dog to shut his whore mouth.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see what happens. Skippy, look at me.
So I got a couple of super chows while we were when we were not live. So I thought I would read those first.
That's good. That's a good idea.
Just because we did get the super chows and I should read them.
Brian is on the ball.
Huh?
Brian is on it.
Is on it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Somebody's got to
like a monkey on a cupcake.
All right. So I don't even want to know what that means. So I got 2 super chows. CHMHO, so Chimho, I guess. I'm just going to pronounce it that way. I don't know if that was what the intention is. Gives us $5 through super chow. Thank you, Chimho. And says, annoyed about the amount of time given to a troll, and then puts in parentheses Sergio, on Christmas stream. I skipped a lot of it. Can he prove his premise or even demonstrate it? It is a weird premise at that. All men need to become experts at manipulating women. Can he demonstrate it without using anecdotes or exceptions to the rule? The guy is poison. Thank you for that. Well, I think it was constructive insofar as people got to see that this kind of like 10-year-old blue pill sentiment still exists amongst people that would consider themselves, red pilled or whatever. So I thought it was useful for that. But thank you, Chimho. I know, the thing is like sometimes you're just going to have to deal with people that you don't agree with. And I'm okay with that. I think that, the best thing to do is let them talk. So you hear what they believe and then you're just like, okay, like that's what I did. I was like, oh, I've heard all this before years and years and years and years ago, so I mean,
yeah, well, and I think really like every single ideology, right, has some explanatory value, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, there are some things that men can learn from pickup artists and stuff like that.
Of course.
And some things that men and women can learn from traditionalism. Mm-hmm. And, but you have to acknowledge that there are certain things about, sort of the more modern ways of looking at things that actually are explanatory, that this is the way things are because of this, right? And so, I mean, like you're looking at a situation where, the whole conversation is multifaceted, and that's a healthy thing. And then you pick the things that are true out of each person, right? And then you put something coherent together, right? That's what I did. That's how I came to this. I listened to like everyone.
No, I agree. I mean, I agree. I don't want to get too, because that's like a separate discussion. But my problem ultimately is not that because I acknowledge that there are like you said, useful like lessons or talking points from all over the spectrum. The issue comes when people want to ignore the fact that the largest obstacles are not social or they're legal and political.
Yeah,
that's like where ultimately it doesn't matter how much game you have if she can just accuse you of rape and take all your money, or whatever, destroy your life basically. None of that matters, and you can't be like, well, if you've read all the Evo Psych books and know all the keyboard shortcuts, then you can win. Like that doesn't matter, dude. Like.
No, not with modern women, especially.
No,
I mean, it might work with someone who's middle aged, but or 40 or whatever, right? But to fix a broken marriage or a marriage that's falling apart, but it's not going to work with these out of control young women. It's just not.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right. Well, anyway, thank you for the super chat. I'm going to read the next one. Oh no, not the stairs from men gives us $5 and says, there was a screenshot from some video of a gym thought who admitted that she spent hundreds of dollars on a cute gym outfit to attract a boyfriend, only for her to utterly fail after going to the gym for 6 months just to walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes at a time. Well, she got something out of it. No approaches from any men. I don't know if the story is true or not, but I hope this story was at least funny or for whoever reads this super chow. I think it
she
is
got
funny,
exercise, so
yeah, she got exercise out of it, and also, I mean, this is the climate that we've created. Like, why would guys approach women at the gym? Why would they?
When every single woman out there on Instagram or whatever is filming guys watching them at the gym and going and posting it online and like saying, "Ew, what a creep." Right? Like, he's sexually harassing me and this is not okay.
Exactly. What do you expect?
Yeah, no, nobody's going to approach you. Nobody's even going to, you try and bench something and it lands on your chest. Like, men aren't even going to get up and help you anymore because they're worried, right? Like, I watched this video of this, he was I think he was Korean or something. He was a mixed martial arts guy, fighter, and he when he won, the ring girl comes up to him and he puts his gloved hand on her waist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I do when I take selfies with people, like everybody does, right?
Yeah.
You just put your hand around the person's waist and he's like cheering himself on and stuff. Nothing intended, right? And he almost lost his career. And he was just lambasted. He was accused of sexual harassment and lambasted in the papers and in the media. And so now when he avoids the ring girls and they come towards him when he wins, and he runs away, and the ring girls think it's funny.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it's funny, is it?
Yep.
Like that's like saying, oh, like a real life Pepe Le Pew, right? Coming after you. Oh, we should all just laugh. Oh, look at her. She's unwilling. Oh, what a wimp.
Yeah. How unlucky people are today that they don't get to enjoy Pepe Le Pew cartoons anymore.
I know.
There is no way on earth that is ever going to be aired again. At least not in my lifetime.
I just wanted to say that.
Go ahead.
Yes, I also miss Pepe. Pepe Le Pew.
I miss the gorilla couple. Okay, that the stork gets drunk and accidentally delivers Bugs Bunny instead of their gorilla baby. And
I remember that.
The wife just keeps hitting her husband with like a rolling pin. And and it's just like, it's domestic violence. Okay, it's funny. It was funny then.
I'm okay with like stuff like that as long as it's like there's no, as long as there's no double standard, I don't care. Like I think Pepe Le Pew is funny. A lot of it has to do with the misunderstanding. Really, that's why it's funny. Yeah. Usually there's like episodes where like the cat that he's always going after because he thinks it's a skunk. The Pepe loses his stripe, and then the cat is suddenly attracted and jumps his bones, and then you have an inversion because it's supposed to be funny. So,
it's like Baby It's Cold Outside. If you ever watch that video from the actual film, it's two couples singing the song to each other, right? One of them, it's the man pushing the woman to stay the night, and the other, it's the woman pushing the man to stay the night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go.
Okay. Or to let her stay the night.
Thank you for the super child. Let's get into this the video. So what I got today is a woman named Maria MacLachlan. And she is a feminist of the classic second wave sort that believes, or is basically, she is refuting the notion that trans and gender ideology and gender fluidity and all these things, she is denying that they are feminist and that they are in fact conservative.
What?
Yeah. That's what she's saying.
No, okay, so the
reason for this
patriarchy.
Yeah, it's patriarchy. Yeah, it's men's fault. That's what it is. That's what she's saying. She's saying that gender ideology is not feminist. This whole trans thing is not feminist. And that, and I saw some of this and I was like, holy shit, we have to look at this. So she starts, just so you know the context. This video is called Feminists Didn't Do This, reacting to Matt Walsh's rant against Helen Joyce. And this came out, it was around the time that Matt Walsh released his movie, What is a Woman?
Yeah.
Where he was trying to find woman. And I just want to say at the outset, Matt Walsh did nothing wrong. Even if he doesn't have the whole story, this woman is demonic. That's what I think. Okay? Seriously.
Okay. Well, let's watch it then.
Okay, so we're starting at the beginning. This is you see I have the transcript here. So she's basically just going to set the stage here. Okay, so I'm going to play this bit. You guys are watching? Oh, I got to share my screen. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Sorry, hold on. I knew something was missing.
There it is.
This, hold on a second. All right. That should still be Scipio, and let me put the thing back up here. That's okay. All right. So now you guys are looking. I'm going to play the video.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Some of the comments I get about feminism and feminists are ridiculous. And I'd already decided it was high time I address them. And I was busy making notes for a video when my attention was drawn to a rant by Matt Walsh in response to Helen Joyce. You've just seen a tiny bit of it, and what Matt said happened to be the main claim I wanted to focus on anyway, because it is a claim that comes up time and again beneath my videos and all over the web, which is that feminists are to blame for the phenomenon of transgenderism.
Just pausing it there, so just so we, you know, the banana.
That's
and
a straw man. Feminists are not to blame for the transgenderism, because transgenderism existed before feminism, will exist after feminism. It's just something that it has occurred in almost every culture.
Yeah,
So
but what second wave feminism did was open a Pandora's box of Marxist lenses through which transgenderism could be justified as not an aberration, not something that's like super rare, not something that's, you know, and I don't know whether transgenderism has existed for, you know, thousands and thousands of years. I mean, maybe in a tiny minority of people. But even you look at the leftist defense of it, 10,000 years ago in North America, the indigenous peoples had two-spirit people. Yeah, that was about jobs. That wasn't about gender identity, right? That wasn't about men claiming to be women or women claiming to be men. That was about female mechanics and male seamstresses. But
just let me get into this for a bit, because I have looked at this quite a bit. There was in most cultures that I've studied, there is sort of a bit of cross gender stuff happening. So, for example, in Norse culture, you would see male practitioners of magic engaging in kind of cross-dressing, stuff like that. And then in North America, you have the beard eggs. I'm probably saying the word wrong. So there's always been sort of like, and in Thailand, you also have the male cross-dressers and stuff. Like there's this phenomenon across a lot of different cultural contexts. And it's not just like the jobs that men and women do. It's also the behavior and the dress and stuff. So that it has happened.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think that I don't think feminists invented it. However, in cultures, I'm thinking specifically like Middle Eastern cultures. If a woman wanted to have the role of a man, like if she wanted to do the work of a man, she'd have to live like a man and forego the privileges of her sex.
Yeah.
And I know that seems like it's that probably is just shocking to people who don't realize that women have significant privileges. So for example, she would have to forgo financial support by her male relatives, and she could live that way and be referred to as he. Not a lot of women did that, which you would think would be surprising in a culture that's horribly oppressive to women, but they did have this cultural tradition. But what's interesting to me is that women did have to, at least in this cultural tradition, they did have to live as a man, forgo the privileges of being a woman, the privileges of protection and provision, and in order to take on men's jobs. What feminism did is, and this is something that it did do, and it's also something that in Western cultures, cross-genderism between men and women was actually punished pretty harshly in like Christian cultures. I think that it was much more punished for men. In fact, I know for sure that it was much more punished for men.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, women could generally get away with it unless they actually married another woman under false pretenses, which did happen.
Yeah.
And then they would be severely punished, or fairly severely punished. And they also were not really punished for lesbianism, but were definitely punished if they existed as a man. What feminism did, in its various incarnations, is it removed all of the barriers for women in occupying every aspect of the male role in society.
Yeah.
So, before
while retaining their right to protection and provision.
Yeah, protection and provision, and also protection of their role. Not just the physical aspects of their role, but I would even argue the psychological aspects. Because if feminism does anything, it appropriates the concept of vulnerability and victimhood for women and women alone. So, feminism did challenge this idea of gender roles. And the other thing that feminism does, and I guess we should probably listen to her before we get too far into it, because we don't have a lot of time today. But the other thing, the really big thing that feminism does, is that it denies gender roles in order to assert that differences in history, different situations for men and women, weren't a result of actual sex differences that aren't just reflected in human society, but primate society, most social mammal society, aside from like hyenas. They're the exception that proves the rule. That those sex roles that we see in every advanced mammal species with any kind of social cohesion and every culture is not a result of biology, but of oppression of men by women. In order to
males
assert
by females by males.
Yeah, in order to assert that, you have to say that sex is not biological, it's gender, it's socialization. So in order for the very foundational belief of feminism to work, because you can simply look at history, as I do, and say, well, that, the fact that men are generally in positions of greater responsibility and risk-taking, sort of an expression of sex roles has sort of evolved among mammals for various reasons. That's just an expression of how we do, right? It's just what we do. They look at that and they say that is oppression, and they can only say that's oppression when they deny that it's biology. So the very basis of female or feminist conjecture requires a denial of biology. Yeah. So this is on you. But let's see how she says it's not on her.
I want to add, though, to that. I mean, I know that there have always been people who didn't fit neatly into a male or female box, and I don't even like to say that because that sounds like commie talk. But I think that it's interesting that we used to know the difference between a man who did a woman's job and vice versa, which is the two-spirit thing, cross-dressing, transvestites, drag queens, and actual people suffering from gender dysphoria that have to live in the opposite sex in order to feel normal. And that used to be, those were clear-cut, or at least somewhat clear categories, right, that we could look at. But today, I think the only acceptable version of that is the last one that I mentioned. And just because men did women's work, or just because some men cross-dressed, or just because, guys in the Philippines would dress up like women, does not mean that they want to castrate themselves and live as women. So this is very, very different. And I think that, and especially when you look at the scale that this is happening at. I mean, we did that Twitter Spaces, and there were 2 trans men in the chat. And I was like, what are the odds? Like, I mean, this should be like it's like bowling, like triple sixes on a dice. Like, it should be very, very rare. And yet there it was. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. First of all, it's just, I think that there is, and I think this has to be acknowledged. There is a serious push to confuse young people sexually. And it's not, and I think it comes from queer theory, which comes from feminism.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Can I just get in here? In terms of having 2 trans, and again, we probably really should get to what she has to say. In terms of having 2 trans men, we are weirdos, Brian, and we attract weirdos.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's like saying, I can't believe, like, 20% of the men at the ICMI 19, claim they'd been, falsely accused. It's like, and that's like not. I mean,
possible. I get that. I get that we're weird, but I do think that there are
I agree
factors.
with you, Brian. I especially agree when we're not talking about trans men or trans women who are interested in masculine issues. But definitely when you see the ones who are steeped in feminist thought, you have to ask, okay, is this something that's genuinely?
Oh, there is a lot of misandry in the transgender community.
Is this something? But in terms of the trans people who are necessarily part of the men's rights movement, because of the way that we frame stuff, I would say that there's a higher probability that they genuinely have gender dysmorphia, or in the case of maybe some trans men, they might have experienced some severe abuse by
probably
women, by women. Yeah. So I mean, but that's like that's a different discussion, and I think we should just get a little bit into.
Yeah, let me. I did get another super chat. I'm sorry. While you were talking, it was good. It's a $25 super chat from Shadow Wolf, and he says, always appreciate Allison's history lessons. It gives a lot of insight as to where we came from, as well as an idea of where we're going. Thank you, Shadow Wolf. Appreciate it. Okay, let's play some more of the video.
We'll show you what Helen Joyce had said, as well as plenty more from Matt during the course of this video. But before we go there, let me just state at the outset, for those who don't realise it, that feminism is by definition for female human beings. A call
thank you for admitting
equality between people of all genders isn't feminism, it is postmodernist drivel. Feminism is...
She's blaming postmodernism? That's the entire basis of second wave feminist thought.
Postmodernism. Where is that guy?
Oh, good Lord. Look, lady, okay, if you want to appeal to biology, I'm afraid that you lose everything in feminism. I know that feminists, as some sort of scientific academics in good standing, never really assert their conjecture, which is astounding if you think about it. I don't know any other scientific endeavor that doesn't even assert what it's asserting. It doesn't even say, yeah, this is what we're asserting. This is what we're testing. No, feminism doesn't even do that. But let's assume that let me make a informed judgment of what feminist conjecture is. History isn't a result of biological sex roles. It's a result of the completely arbitrary oppression of women by men. All right, you're going to have to say goodbye to that. You're going to have to say goodbye to that if you want to put all the little gremlins back in Pandora's box there, friendo.
Yeah, no, and it's not even of feminist that said, I think she admits to being a biological determinist.
Well, yeah, they all are, ever since the trans thing came up, like Julie Bindel and, all of these second wave freaking lesbian separatist women who basically said, well, women are, it's literally the Norway shit with, from here in Vesk that, everything below the neck is biological, everything above the neck is social, right? Yeah. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Right? And they're like, Because otherwise, why would you have disparities in workplace, in vocational choices, right? Why would you have disparities in what people prefer, in how they behave, right? You wouldn't, because you wouldn't have disparities if everything above the neck was just socialized, and it's all about, telling the little boy, the baby boy, "Ooh, you're such a tough little man," and telling the baby, "Oh, you're so precious and fragile," right? No. Any like, as Steven Pinker said, right, in one of his TED Talks, right? There are people who know that children are born not blank slates, with their own dispositions, personalities, all of that, with all of that kind of laid out, right?
Maybe before they're born, some of that's developed.
We call those people parents.
Yes.
And I have had 3 kids, and they were all drastically different right from the frickin' get-go.
There you go. All right, let's play some more because it gets better. This is like, I'm so happy for this find, I gotta tell you. Okay, let's play some more.
Is not for those men who think they are some kind of woman or wish they were. The point of feminism is to make things better for women and girls. I'm trying to put it as simply as possible. And there has never been unity amongst feminists or on just about anything, on what exactly would make things better and why and how to achieve it, and on the nature of men and of women and how we are similar and how we are different. I mean...
So there's no agreement, but for sure, this queer stuff is not feminism.
Okay,
we disagree on everything
also,
else except... we need men to exist as men, otherwise we don't have a movement. That's kind of what it is, right?
Yeah, or we agree on nothing except that we should inform public policy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
exactly.
Lord, what a bunch! Like, this whole thing is it's just opened up the whole chest of crap that is feminism.
It's literally like they're just, all of their chickens are coming home to roost right now with this bullshit that's going on, with trans women in women's bathrooms, trans women competing in women's sports, trans women freaking usurping Title IX, right? Trans women, trans everything, and I'm looking at it and it's like, where do you think this came from? This came from a bunch of freaking retarded women who thought they were way smarter than they were, who applied postmodernism to a bunch of gibberish papers in academia 40 years ago, okay? And now everybody's basing jurisprudence and public policy on what was easily extrapolatable from all of that gobbledygook, right? So, but don't blame feminism. Don't blame feminism.
Yeah,
it's not feminism.
They're just about equality, Karen. That was all it was. Well, if you'd have just given them equality, none of this would have happened. Yeah,
you know what? Equality is no more alimony, no more child support, no more fucking welfare access, preferential welfare access, no more women's domestic violence shelters. They're all unisex now, right? No more women's homeless shelters. They're all unisex now. How about that? Right? How about that? Right? This is the classic case of, we want cake, we want to eat it, and then we want to still have it. Right?
Yeah.
Well, get advanced society to like frickin' the 24th century, invent replicators, and maybe you can have that.
Well, they want society to live under this cognitive dissonance that they themselves constructed.
Yes.
And the thing is that what I've realized about feminism is it is not an academic study. It is not a philosophy. It's not even a political position. It is just a way for women to extract things from men by manipulating men's identity. That's it.
Yep.
What has happened.
It's always been a power grab.
Women in history, they used to use, oh, you're not a real man, to manipulate men into doing stuff. Or you need to avenge this family's honor in order to manipulate men to doing stuff. And feminists just do that. They're just an extension of the same thing.
Yeah.
No.
You know what?
No.
It's funny. I think that what this woman, because she does go on and on for a while about.
Do you want to
how
see
for
what
31 minutes?
I know that
apparently.
she talks about John Money and Kinsey as the guys that, sort of started the whole gender theory thing, and she claims that they're not feminists. They're men.
They were embraced. They were embraced by feminists.
No,
back when
they were men. How could they be feminists?
they were embraced by feminists back when feminists thought it proved what they wanted the world to know, which is there shouldn't be any disparities in the workplace. There shouldn't be any disparities in earnings. There shouldn't be, because there really is no difference between men and women. Yeah.
No difference. No difference whatsoever.
No, of course. But here's the thing that I think, feminists like this woman, this trans thing is scaring the shit out of them. But in a way, it scares me too, but for different reasons. It scares them because they're afraid they're going to lose all of that power that they have. All of that, stranglehold they've had on like politicians and money and media control and all the other things. And I'm afraid that all the people who are transitioning, because they don't have any other outlet, are going to kill themselves. And that's my concern. That's not their concern.
Yeah.
Their concern is their power. My concern is the mental health of the people that are essentially engaging in this. I mean, yes, there are bad actors, but they've made it to where it's impossible to make the distinction, and you can't even call it out. So you're just going to end up with a lot of suicides. I'm sorry, but that's what's going to happen. It's not going to be pretty.
They're playing chess with people's lives.
Yes.
The other thing I would like to ask is, what does she say to all of the feminists who identify as feminists and support trans rights
They're not
activism?
real feminists, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
They're
they
gender
seem
traders.
to be the
They work
ones
for their closet conservatives that work for the patriarchy.
There's never been agreement. There's never been agreement, you see, within the feminist movement as to what best serves women's equality, you see. So that's what she'd say. Mm-hmm. Well, that's those feminists over there. That's what we've dealt with this for a decade now, more.
It's the same shit.
Well, that's those feminists over there. That's not us feminists over here.
Yep.
You realize that if society, and it does look like society does, basically run on the feminist input, shall we say, then we have a situation where feminists are inputting two completely contrary and oppositional things, which will most likely end up tearing society apart as we try to maintain this cognitive dissonance.
Well, as we try to accommodate both, because both represent women, because they're feminists.
Yes. And I guess that's peak gynocentrism, isn't it? Yeah. Two completely opposing movements who both think that they are advocating for their women.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, no. Well, there's three movements now, right? Because the traditionalist movement is seeing a resurgence of, okay, can we get back to sane here? Right? You know, and because the push has been so far in the wrong direction by the other two movements, they're pushing back real hard. They're like, women need to submit to their husbands and, and all of this. And it's like, no, women don't necessarily need to submit to their husbands. Not in every little thing, right? You can negotiate with your husband. He has his areas of expertise. You have your areas of expertise. You each have your strengths and weaknesses. You should be filling in the empty spots on each other's spreadsheets, right? And where you're the expert, you should have the greater say. maybe not the unequivocal say, but the greater say, right? And same with him in areas where he's the expert. And you talk about it, you discuss it, you negotiate it, you come to a decision, right? Now we have this movement of, submissive wives who are like, well, I'm just going to do what my husband tells me. And it's like, well, that's not necessarily the best thing, honey. Because men aren't always responsible, right? They don't always behave responsibly. They don't always manage money well. They don't always, look after themselves. They don't always take care of business perfectly, right? You can't just defer to him on every little thing. Sometimes you do need to have a discussion, right? But
it's not really. I don't know if it's really like
But that's what marriage used to be.
Okay, let me put it this way. I think that in my opinion, my interpretation of the admonition is more recognizing that men have women's best interests at heart, even if they are irresponsible.
It's a leap of faith.
It's a leap of faith, right? So you recognize that even if you have to step in and say, no, you are going to go to that dental appointment.
Yeah, or no, you're not going to buy that new gadget. Yeah.
Yeah, even if but you still recognize at the end of the day that men have your best interests at heart. Yeah. And they deserve a fucking break. Feminism has never given men a break on this. Since its inception. So, I mean, and it's really difficult if you're a woman and you realize, okay, first of all, you get what you get, right? You're not settling unless you think that your entire life is settling. You get a life, you get a partner, and that's what you get. Get busy living it. And then the other thing is that recognize that your partner is trying the best he can, right? And it's really hard. And also start letting yourself be informed by not just that he's trying the best that he can, but maybe make it easier for him in that process. Recognize it, appreciate him respect him for that, maybe make it a bit easier. And then you're starting to get in the mindset of companionate and loyal. If you're a more submissive woman, maybe you do prefer to always be the one who's deferring, but take responsibility for that too.
Yeah.
When a gigantic fuck up happens because of that, if it does, that's also your responsibility for having allowed it.
Having deferred, yeah. Having
deferred against your better judgment. Okay, so it's like this is what I would say. It's more that admonition. Brian calls it a leap of faith. I would say it's an aspect of trust, and it's a way of managing a relationship that is healthy, and ultimately is going to help both partners grow, I think. And so that's the way I interpret it. Not in terms of blind obedience.
Yeah.
Or
no, I don't think it's that. I think it's basically like, okay, it's so that you're not engaging in a constant power struggle, and you just kind of like let the man make a call, and if you have a better idea, you offer it up. It doesn't mean anything. We're not talking about Islam. So, but anyway.
Okay, but even in Islam.
No, I mean Islam. It means submission. That's what I mean. I'm not talking about the relationship between men and women.
I think ultimately that whole admonition is just to give men a break from being that. Honestly,
from being incessantly nagged.
The early church fathers were like, "Just ladies, can you give them a break? They're doing their best."
Yeah.
That's. I think that's basically what it is. And unfortunately, when it's interpreted in its most, superficial and way, it actually gives a hell of a lot of hand to a woman in a relationship. Because again, when we were talking to Sergio, or whatever the hell his name is, he was basically saying that if a man does his role right, the woman falls in line. And I'm like, do you realize that gives the woman all the control in the relationship?
Yeah, all the power. Yeah,
because she can. If she is a hysterical, to make himself
think he's in control, and then he's in control.
If she's a hysterical wildebeest, that's all your fault.
Mhm.
So she can be as much of a wildebeest as she wants, and it's still your fault. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
Good luck with those terms, like making them work for you if you're a dude. And it's like, I don't think that works. I think that's a really superficial analysis of that statement. And from what I can see, what has happened is we've lost a lot of our wisdom about men and women.
Oh,
We
yeah.
had, like when I watch, for example, movies from like 60 years ago, first of all, the female characters are far more interesting. They're really compelling. Like what I noticed is that in many of these movies, you are hanging on what the women do or say.
Yeah.
Because you know that it's going to have a huge impact on the plot. That's not the case in movies today. And they may have like a superficial, like Captain Marvel influence quality, but it doesn't resonate on an emotional level. Like, you know, Audrey Hepburn in Lion of Winter. I dare you to watch that.
That was Katharine Hepburn.
Katharine Hepburn in Lion of Winter. I dare you to watch that and not just be like hanging off of everything she says. Even though she does nothing physical in the entire movie, she's basically orchestrating all of the activities.
Yeah,
and
she's the power behind the throne.
Well, yeah.
so
Also,
fascinating to watch.
Lady Galadriel in the Lord of the Rings movies. Like what?
Like there are so many iconic women in history that were basically they didn't rail against their role, right? They knew what their role was. They knew that it was to counsel their husband.
Well,
right? And
Eleanor of Aquitaine was that this is really getting historical. Eleanor of Aquitaine was herself sort of a how to describe it, a force of nature, and this actually is true about a lot of medieval Renaissance history. Like if you actually read it, it is
Catherine de Medici.
It's completely different than what feminists present it as. One of the reasons I think that they actually gave inheritance rights to men is so that men could occasionally actually have control over the country, because otherwise it would be endless dowager queen, steward,
usurping power. Yeah.
Well, not just usurping, but legitimately carrying the power, because the king is dead. She has to be the steward for the children, because women lived longer, and they lived longer not just because they generally live longer.
Sometimes because they committed petty treason.
Yeah, and sometimes because they committed that, but also because they weren't out fighting wars. All right.
Yeah.
So if you think that feminists are right about history, go read sometime.
Yeah.
Go read some. There it is, rife with women who are power brokers, even in the Roman era, and it's also rife with women who are shield rattlers, who are weaving the course of history by manipulating men's identities. And wherever women are restricted in any kind of way, they always gain more power to manipulate men's identities, to do it for them. Women's limitations become men's obligations in history.
Yeah.
Okay,
let's play some more of the video.
Because we don't have a lot of time left.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying we should play some more of the video. So,
yep.
Here we go.
If we go back to the campaign for women's suffrage, there were those who argued that women needed political representation, as women are different from men and have very specific needs that were not being addressed by male politicians and the laws they were making. And there were those who argued that women should have political representation because actually women are not that different from men, and they were just as capable as men of contributing to the greater good of society, and indeed as waged workers and taxpayers, they should have a say in who represented them.
Yeah, no, she's making the argument that even during the suffrage era, feminism was not unified in why it wasn't
unified in why they should have power, but it was certainly unified in wanting power.
Yeah.
Is this accurate, Karen?
Yeah, well, there definitely was the argument that women required the vote because they had specific needs that weren't being adequately addressed, I guess, with the changing times or whatever. And there were feminists who argued that it was because women were out in the workforce more and more, earning, like, doing wage labor, and they deserved the vote because they were paying taxes. The only problem with that argument is they weren't paying taxes.
Yeah,
Their
and,
husbands were paying
it's kind
their
of a
taxes.
social political pincer attack.
Yeah.
Like, you have to choose between one of these things, but both of them lead to the same thing, giving women more power. Or feminists more power, specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because the branch that won out was the one that was like, no, women. Well, you know what? Actually, both branches want to have their cake and eat it too.
Yes.
Well, she's not talking about men, the condition for men in this at all. She's saying the suffrage movement, women, these women and these women. But what about the men? What was their situation? Did they just have the vote?
Their situation is to do whatever is necessary to provide and protect for women in whatever context women say they want to be provided and protected.
Yeah, like die for your country.
Which is rolled throughout history. But what I was trying to get at is that they had it both ways. Feminism had it both ways until the trans movement. Women were both special and equal. This is what she's saying. Well, you see, feminists are different because they wanted women to be, one branch of feminism wanted women to be special, and the other branch of feminism wanted them to be equal. Well, guess what? You've basically had it both ways until now.
Yep.
And now the bill has come due.
Yeah.
And now you're
saying, no longer special.
You're saying, well,
you're equal to that person with a penis using the ladies' bathroom.
Now, okay, and now that the bill has come due, you are saying, well, because one half of feminism wanted to be special and the other half wanted to be equal, well, then we're not responsible for wanting to be special and equal. No, that's not the way it works. You have had an unbelievable run of influence and benefit with this special but equal, but also equal bullshit, with this cognitive dissonance. And now it has come due because you have fractured the very foundation of society. That's what we're seeing right now. This bullshit has fractured our foundation. The end.
Yep. Do you see the necklace she's got on? It's a feminist pendant. You see that? It reminds me of those 1970s like Afrocentric, like power fist, black power fist medallions. But she's got a feminist symbol on there.
It's a pink one.
She's a real one. No, it's gold. It's like, well, not gold, but like a metal. It's right around her neck. It's a feminist logo. It looks the female sign with the fist.
Yeah, no, that Black Lives Matter modeled there, and like the feminist symbol, the female symbol with the fist it's been iconic for decades.
Yeah, I know. She's wearing it around her neck, like I'm saying, like she's like one of those, Black Power people from the 70s, like Angela Davis, but it's the feminist thing because she's she's from the 60s. That's what she says in the later on. Her talisman, yes, it's a talisman.
Oh.
To protect her from penises.
It's got magical powers.
I'm fairly certain she's a lesbian separatist too, but I don't know for sure. So, should we play one more clip? Or it's 4:56.
Yeah, one more clip if we can.
Okay, let's just do a little bit more.
And those differences of opinion amongst feminists, both of which are perfectly legitimate points of view while we're all working things out, they have been apparent in feminist discourse ever since, right up to the present day.
So she really is going with, one half of us wanted to be special, one half of us wanted to be equal. We ended up getting both, therefore we're responsible for neither.
Yeah.
God damn. This is some serious woman logic.
Yeah.
No offense.
No, none taken. Again, so okay, she's saying this is interesting. We'll have to come back to this later, but she's saying, look, there's all these different kinds of feminism, but then she's going to land on, but none of them include trans women. So and that is ultimately, by the way, her concern. It's not trans men, because trans men, they're gender traitors, whatever. Like they're over there. Her concern is men trying to live as women. And according to her logic, feminism covers, like, there's like a million flavors of feminism, but that is not one of them.
Yeah.
You know? So,
yeah, I did notice that she was only seemed to be concerned about trans women. So.
And of course, that's because to her, they're men. And
they're
men
chicks with
doing
dicks,
they're doing a thing they're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah, no, they're usurping. Okay, well, if it sucks so much to be a woman, okay, why would you accuse trans women of usurping women's special status? Right, because that's it, like this whole thing with, girls are going to get raped in the bathroom and stuff. I mean, there is a concern over that, for sure, right? I don't think that concern is something that's gonna, be just like gonna happen with actual trans women, with actual people who have gender dysphoria. I don't think, no, it's gonna come from the imposters, right? The ones who are like, well, if I wear a dress and pretend to be trans and nobody can question me, right? Then I can go and sexually assault women and girls in the bathroom.
Can I just put something out really quickly? There was a woman who I believe sexually assaulted girls by pretending to be a boy or a man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Women are not and I'm pretty sure there would also be women who would use the opportunity to have access to men to sexually assault them too. I know everybody's
Does anybody remember that case, that rape case in I think it was in the UK, right, where these two women met on a dating app or something, or a dating site, and one was posing as a man, and they met and in person, and then when they went to retire to the bedroom after their first date, the one blindfolded the other, right? Said, this is, this will be really sexy. And then raped her with a dildo. And when the victim realized that it was a woman, not a man, right? She claimed that she was raped, and I believe she won her case.
Okay.
Rape by deception.
Yeah, that actually was one of the things that women who dressed as men in like the Middle Ages would get. That they would deceive women into marrying them, and then I don't know if it was rape by deception, but it was like some kind of unique form of bigamy. I don't know, but it was frowned upon, shall we say. So it's like, yeah, there's going to be unsavory people doing unsavory things, but then again, like there are unsavory lesbians, or presumably bisexual women, or maybe just opportunistic straight women doing unsavory things in women's prisons forever now, and nobody cares.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, honestly, yeah, there may be some trans women rapists who end up in women's prisons,
or there may be some men claiming to be trans women.
Yeah, who end up in women's prisons. I would not think that would be the best thing for them to do, because women in women's prisons don't tend to be very nice. So, it might be the case of not putting a fox in the hen house, but a hen in the fox house.
Yeah, but except for that, the women in women's prisons tend to like get up to a whole bunch of nasty shit because they have a lot more leeway. They're not guarded as strictly, right? Like, you look at women's prisons in Canada versus men's prisons in Canada, and the difference is like one is like a condo complex, right? And the other is, an actual prison.
Oh, I was muted. Are we finished that clip?
That
Brian.
snippet?
Yeah. Do we have a Brian? Have we lost you, Brian? Uh-oh. I think we've lost Brian.
Maybe he stepped away.
Brian. Do we have a Brian?
Oh, Brian!
Free Brian!
You trying to
Free
get my
Brian!
attention?
Free Brian!
No, I just I'm here. I'm here. I just need to step away for a second.
Okay. Well, we were uncharacteristically finished speaking.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Weird. I mean, I wasn't expecting that. That was a plot twist I didn't see coming.
Yeah,
I got
it's a
up
plot
and you
twist.
guys stopped
But
talking.
you had to.
Are
It's
you
like-
saying you did not see that coming?
Oh no, I'm not Vivek Ramaswamy. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Only when it's funny? Like, we're only going to stop
Yeah,
talking when it'll lead to a technical difficulty.
Yeah.
All right.
Whenever somebody says Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I gotta do my favorite quote. Get out of that chair! That's my brother's chair. Okay. So are we doing any more, or are we
a little bit more.
One tiny bit more,
All right,
and
one
then
little tiny bit more.
I gotta go in 5
That
minutes. so-
any one feminist speaks for all feminists is wrong.
Oh, for the love
And
of
to talk
God!
about
Then,
feminism as monolithic is also wrong. And another
okay,
thing
if it's not
that's wrong-
monolithic. All right. If you are not monolithic, as you say, if there's no one conjecture, then you are not scientific. Then what are you?
Yeah, no, if it's not monolithic, then why does feminism take the credit for all progress
It
that
is
is viewed as
monolithic
good?
in one aspect to her, right?
Yeah, no,
it is monolithic
blame
where
the
it
men.
matters.
Yeah, it's monolithic when we are crediting feminists with something supposedly positive for women. We can't
Yeah.
credit the women themselves. We have to credit feminism because feminism is suddenly a monolith when it comes to credit.
Feminism
But
is
any
good because
kind of
feminism likes all the good
responsibility or
things.
accountability, and feminism disappears into a fart of particles.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, and you're expected to sword fight it.
Yeah, but
You
and
know.
here's the other thing. Like, if feminism is supposed to be some kind of reflection of reality, insofar as it makes a causal statement about reality, and I think, in my many years of observing feminism, I would say that causal statement is men in charge equals women oppressed. Okay?
Yeah.
But if you're supposed to be a descriptive statement about reality, a causal relationship in reality, which is what science is,
Yeah.
creating causal relationships, then you are by definition a monolith, right?
Mhm.
Physics is a monolith. I mean, it changes, it evolves based on people's understanding, but it is a series of statements that don't go anywhere. Physicists don't go out and say, well, there are multiple forms of
Yeah.
physics. You can't pin us down. No. If you're science, you can be pinned down,
Yeah.
right? And if you're not science, then you have no claim to objective reality. Which is
Yeah.
it, friend?
Yeah, I
I
got
think
another
you mean-
super chow.
Yay!
From
That's a claim to objective
Telemar gives us $50. Thank you so much.
It's a trap!
And says, Dear Karen, many years ago, I came across a video on YouTube featuring a woman who clearly and calmly analyzed and explained feminist concepts in a way that I had never seen before. Her insights and knowledge opened up a whole world to me that I had never imagined could exist. It led me from being a convinced feminist who genuinely believed in every feminist myth you can imagine to someone who is now substantially more knowledgeable and firmly anti-feminist among other new positions that I hold. And of course, through her, I was able to discover a whole host of interesting people, such as the honey badgers. Thank you very much for all that you have done. I appreciate it enormously, and I am sure I am far from the only one. P.S. You're cute.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Yeah, no, that does always make my day when somebody sends something like that, because it just means that, you know, that I've made an impact. So yeah. I have to go.
Yeah, she warned me that this would happen. So what we'll do?
We can try and do it again. We got
Brian.
Yeah.
I can handle this. It's okay.
All right.
I have made some arrangements. All right. So the way that we're going to do this is we're just doing a short show today. Hopefully we got enough of this done to make it worthwhile. You have to forgive us, guys. This is some really crazy ass crap. This is just nonsense. This woman has a nonsense hole right under her nose, and it never stops spewing nonsense. Okay? So you have to forgive us. We react very strongly to nonsense because we are a panel of autists, except for Brian. Okay, maybe it's just me. I'm the only autist here. But I am very autistic, and I do respond very badly to nonsense. So forgive us, but we did try to get as much as we can done. And if you want to support the show, if you enjoy this content, if you love listening to the strident refrains of us, then please go to feedthebadger.com/support and help us out. A few days left. I'm hoping that we get over so I can provide some extra funds to Brian this month. And again, if you want to send us a message, you want to say anything at all, you want to tell us we're not screaming into the void, that is feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And we will read the message on the next show, which should be on Sunday. So there you go. That's what I wanted to say, Brian, because I figured
no, that's good.
We don't have to. That's good. Okay. All right. I got your approval.
All right. So I'll take us out then, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Like, I don't think the thing is that we're going to start. She definitely is a gem, Brian.
This is a gem, isn't it? This is a gem.
Yeah, she's a gem. She is. It's like we opened a crypt.
In the rough.
It's like we opened a crypt and that frog came out. Hello, my baby. Yeah. Hello, my. It's just like a blast from the past. This woman.
It is. I know these arguments are so 2014.
Oh, but they're being dusted off because of the trans rights activists.
Yeah, because of the trans thing. She like went into the old trunk in the attic and they're like, "Oh, I have this. I'll just tell them there are lots of feminisms."
And really, like, let's recap here.
I swear to God, I feel like this is like there's like a larger plot where this trans thing happens. You have these people. They're essentially chemically altering their chemistry. They're being told by their instructors and by the media and everything that this is all reversible, it's totally okay, just go for it, and they're doing it. And then you have the feminists that are pushing that on them, and then you have the feminists that are opposing it, and at the end of the day there'll be fewer men. like that's no. I mean, I feel like, and they'll win no matter what, right? Like you're either going to go with the intersectional side or you're going to go with the TERF side. And, either way, the feminists still win and they remain relevant and they maintain their power and they stay rich. So I feel like that's what's going on, in my opinion.
It might be a situation where this is just something that the snake eating its own tail has got to the base of its own skull.
That's true, but I don't know that it's going. I'm telling you, like, feminism is like cockroaches. It's gonna survive. Like it's gonna reinvent itself again. It's going to come back and be like, oh, you see, you need us. And it doesn't matter how things pan out. They will. That's what they're going to do. Because again, it's not based in any science. It's just people that want power and will say whatever they have to say to get it.
Well, we got to just keep the fires of Gondor lit.
I agree.
Because
I'm not saying we give up.
Freaking conservatives' feet to the fire about this shit.
We have to call it out.
They're constantly like, the conservatives are like, oh no, look at the second way, the radical feminists, though, they're contrite. We gotta fold them back in. No, they created this mess. They'll do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, don't bring them back in. They need to lose their allies. They need to lose the whatever platform they have, because this is nonsense. This is just spinning our wheels in the dirt and not going forward. Anyway, what I wanted to point out specifically about what this woman has said so far is basically she said feminists disagreed, not really, about actually what I would say is it wasn't a disagreement of kind, it was a disagreement of emphasis. I'm pretty sure the disagreement was really Group A feminists wanted women to be seen as special first. Group B feminists wanted women to be seen as equal first. And they were arguing over where in the list of demands equal versus special should be. But they both wanted both. And now she's saying, because there was an argument over how we should weight special versus equal, we're not responsible for either. Even though you wanted both, you got both, and now you're dealing with the consequences. Right? That's one thing she said. And now she's saying, oh yeah, feminism is not a monolith except when it comes to praise and taking responsibility for all progress. Right? No. If you're not a monolith, in other words, if there are multiple feminism, there's no such thing as multiple physics. Okay? If you want to have multiple feminisms, then you have no claim on being a science of objective reality that reflects some kind of causal relationship, objective causal relationship in reality. There are no multiple physics. There are no multiple forms of any other scientific agenda or endeavor. It may evolve, it may change. The state of the knowledge may change, but there are, like I said, physics is there's not multiple physics. So there you either have multiple feminisms so you can evade all accountability, or you are a scientific, you're presenting a causal relationship about reality in a scientific context. And if you're not, then nothing in feminism, no feminist assertion is at all an assertion about reality. You are not revealing reality, you are manufacturing a consensus about fake reality. That's what you're doing. So it's like at the very heart, all of this that she's saying is about evading responsibility while retaining the authority of being about objective reality. This is, to its core, this entire thought sphere, if you even want to call it thought, is bullshit. From stem to stern, from the moment of its inception, feminism was bullshit. Now, if feminism had kept itself to, hey, this is how women experience reality, we're not making any objective or causal statements about reality, we're just saying our subjective experience, it would have validity. But that's not what they did. That's not what they did. They claimed to have objective, scientific knowledge about reality. At the same time, as they refused to be held accountable to even stating their conjecture, even stating the causal relationship that they say, is an observation of reality, or what they're going to test about reality. Okay? Bullshit from the moment of its inception. You do not get the authority of science while having the lack of accountability of a woman. Okay? Oh man. I'm such a freaking misogynist. But ultimately,
it's just red. You're just on Team Red. You shouldn't be on Team Red versus Team Blue. Anyway,
this just freaking disgusts me. And it's true. Women just aren't held to the same level of accountability as men. They aren't.
Of course not.
And one of the reasons why is because their men's identity seems to be founded on providing and protecting women, right? Which means that they are accountable to women in a way that women are never accountable to men. And there's because there isn't that accountability, there's a whole realm of growth that's completely cut off from women.
Hey man, hey bro, if she drugs you and cuts off your penis while you're unconscious, it's your fault. You didn't game her hard enough.
Good Lord.
So stop being a pussy. Anyway, let's wrap it up here. Sure, she won't go to jail and they'll laugh at you on The View. But it doesn't mean that she has more power. Come on, guy. Just maintain frame.
And how are you supposed to maintain frame without acknowledging reality?
Yeah.
Like, and this is the funny thing. Like this Sergio is a good argument for men being as incapable of rational thought as women.
He's just the status quo. It's not. He's less than the status quo. Like there's nothing unique there at all. It's the same shit. Tell that to Johnny Depp. Tell Johnny Depp to, like, you know, man harder. He's like he was the most sought after dude in the world, or at least way up there, and he still got his life destroyed. Don't give me this shit.
Yeah, that's the thing. How do you maintain frame without acknowledging the power that women have? Like, and having them holding them accountable to it. And it really comes down to that. Do you have the guts and the fearlessness to hold women accountable and not let them, you know, retreat into their shell of, oh, but I'm just, no, you're not. You're not a little victim. You're not a little helpless anything.
Yeah.
You know, and to be honest, that's I was actually thinking about that. I think that one of the things that I respect and admire about my husband, Jonathan, most is that he is completely fearless when it comes to being honest with the women in his life. I have seen him shut down the bullshit that both his mother and his sister, and, you know, and to some degree me and some of my female relatives have thrown at him. Like, he's just like, have you seen that Waffle House fight with the woman who just plucks the chair out of the air? Do you remember that one?
I vaguely remember that, but I don't. Waffle House fights are not my preferred genre of video.
Yeah, I can understand that. But people might know what I'm talking about. She just plucks it out of the air, sets it down on the ground, or throws it or something, and then just does the come at me bro gesture. Yeah, that's my husband when it comes to women's bullshit. Just complete neutralization. And I respect that. I've never met a man, maybe aside from Brian, and maybe Mike, and a few other men's rights activists. I've never met someone who's so fearlessly truthful to women. And that's really admirable. And there's not a lot of guys like that. They hide in this. They hide.
Some courage. Yep.
Yeah, it requires a lot of courage. And most men either hide in feminism or they hide in this red pill, just game harder, bro.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Which is hiding. It's cowardice.
Doesn't bother me. I'm not a pussy. As the police drag him off after kicking his ass because the woman said she didn't feel safe. So anyway, we should close it out then. We'll do something on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll pick this up. Maybe we can do like a Beat Saber plus weird blast from the past woman. She's not weird, but
she's sort of typical. Turf lady. I don't know. I don't
Turf
know.
Lady.
Yeah.
But we've opened up the crypt and she came out. Okay, so once again, if you want to support the show, it's at feedthebadger.com/support. If you want to send us a message that we will read at the next, relevant show, it's at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Tell us we're not screaming into the void, because sometimes it feels that way. All right, back to you, Brian.
All right, well, if you guys like this video, please hit like. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. What? You have a thank you?
Yes, I do. I'll have to actually double confirm.
Oh, bro.
But I do have a thank you to give to Becca.
All right, go ahead.
Who just put in $150.
Woo! Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So this I'm gonna hand it back to you, Brian.
All right. So now again, like, share, subscribe, comment, all of that good stuff. And we'll see you guys on the next video, probably on Sunday. Goodbye for now.
Bye.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.